Good morning, Raptor Freak Alexios. It's Friday morning. The Raptors have been eliminated from the playoffs by the Philadelphia 76ers in game six last night. Very unfortunate. This happens to 29 teams in the NBA. They've had their season end at a certain point, and well, it's just been our time finally. In fact, I think we lasted a bit longer than most people thought we would in all kinds of ways. Now, this stream this morning is going to be a stream that's very even and fair. And I'm not going to do what other fan nations might do and stuff like that. I will say right off the bat right now, Philadelphia was the better team in this series. They won this series, mostly in a fair way. And, they played their asses off. And I got to give them credit. Like, honestly, what happened yesterday that was really dismaying for me was that our Raptors could not find that defensive seal that they had on Monday night on their own home court. And that is a problem to me because they had the home court, they had the fans behind them, but they couldn't communicate. They couldn't do the right things with the right energy to come and seal them out because our defense was absolutely pathetic last night. In fact, there was no energy on our defensive end, and that was absolutely essential for us to come back and win this series in seven. Is that we had to have that intensity on our defense that we had on Monday going forward. And that without that kind of intensity on our defense, well, Philadelphia is a really good offense. They have amazing offensive players on there. They have one of the greatest scorers of all time in James Harden, and they have one of the biggest, most skilled players in the history of the NBA also. So they have major weapons, major weapons. And we had done a good job of taking them away from being effective on the court the last few games, the 3 games before this, for the most part. But last night, we were not able to do this. And I'm going to break it down exactly how it happened. They did a good job. They must have got through to James. That Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid talking about him in the media the last couple of days saying, James, you need to go shoot. You need to go do something. Well, James listened. He listened and he came in and he did what they wanted because he really was the first strike by them last night. He was aggressive. We saw a little bit of old James from Houston. Not a whole lot. I mean, enough to see a dunk get thrown down and to see him actually being aggressive scoring instead of passing. And that really set the table to allow Embiid to operate. And once again, Embiid looked way better than he did on Monday. I don't know. He was moving better. Maybe the couple of days of rest helped him with any kind of pains, aches and pains that he had in his lower body that made him look so slow on Monday night. And, those things, those guys getting going allowed for, once again, then boom, all of a sudden Maxey has room to get going. And then he starts rolling. And then boom, all of a sudden Danny Green and the role players off the bench are starting to do stuff too. And then it becomes a whole team effort by Philadelphia on offense. And that's tough. That's tough to beat because basically you have to outscore them. And we just don't have that kind of offensive firepower on our team that's dependable to do that. So we really had to keep it in a low-scoring slugfest, which we were not able to do. And that's too bad because honestly, I really thought that the guys would have came out with a much better effort. In fact, that's the biggest thing I blame is the guys just did not put the effort on the court. Certain guys did and did a whole really good badass stuff. Like Chris Boucher was amazing last night. I do have to give him super major credit. But overall, our collective identity as a team and defense was not there. And that has to be absolutely essential for us to be at our peak level and to win for sure and stuff like that. So Tom Duke's here. Good to see somebody's here. I wasn't sure who was going to show up and if I was going to be needing to just throw wrenches left and right because they're coming for me. But we'll see. We'll see. If there are people coming in here and they are acting a little ugly, Tom, this morning, please wrench away because we don't have time for this. I mean, if they're established Philly fans that we've talked to all along, we owe it to them to talk to them and give them their kudos for sure. Tom Duke saying, good morning. What's the next step? Going to be an awesome journey. Looking forward is all we should do. Let's hold on to the lessons we learned this whole great season, all relative. Tom has the best attitude. It's just like last night is a chapter or a page in a book, and you turn the page and you go to the next chapter. And listen, like I said all this past week, nothing about this season is a failure. Losing last night was not a failure. It's just that this was the end of the road for this version of the Toronto Raptors team for this year. And, there's so many great things to build off of and stuff like that. And there's no reason to be ashamed or to be upset with anyone in any kind of way. This is just how it all went down. Tom's saying also Boucher should have started after balling in that first half. Yeah, he had 19 points in the first half. He really was doing his Dennis Rodman with the offensive rebounding. Was fantastic. I love it so much. I just wish that all the rest of the guys had had that kind of intensity and that kind of effort on the court last night. And I'm not going to point any fingers or anything. It really is kind of a collective thing as far as like they didn't have enough shared synergy energy to really seal these guys because they had to stop Philly. We could not allow them to score 30-point quarters, and we did. We let them come back, and this is the thing. They scored 133 points last night. They went from 86 points on Monday to 133 points last night. That's a huge, huge difference, and that's back to being at game one where they scored 131. And, they played a perfect game in that game one. Last night, I don't even think they played as perfect as they did in game one. That there were things that we were doing that we could have done certain things, but we didn't. And the fact that this game was a 1-point game at halftime really shows that the game was busted wide open in the third quarter. And that was a combination of a lot of different things. I don't know if these guys were motivated enough coming back from the half like Philadelphia was. It could be that Doc Rivers had a really impassioned speech for them or something. Told them something during halftime that made them want to go out. Okay, this is now when you go out there and you just finish them off. Finish them off. You guys don't want to come back to Philadelphia and have to play them. Is kind of thing he probably told them. And then you couple that with always the same fucking problem in the Scotiabank Arena with the Raptors fans not being in their seats after halftime. And that, there were a lot of fucked up things about fan stuff at the building last night that really kind of hurt us in some down low ways. But that lull in the third quarter where they could not score absolutely killed our entire season. And that means that this is something that Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri really need to think about is how we can, or even Nick Nurse too, to an extent. Now, for Bobby and Masai, they need to figure out where we get scorers for our bench because we need real scorers. We have scorers in our starting lineup, but we have no scorers on our bench. And that is absolutely going to be essential for next year. And then, Nick, you've got to figure out ways to help your team more when they get stagnant like this. Like, there's some really bad things about not being able to score any points for like 5 or 6 minutes. And it's not just Philadelphia's great defense. Tobias Harris, once again, was really good on Pascal Siakam last night. He limited him in all kinds of different ways. And Pascal played great still. He was 9 of 17. He missed all of his threes, which is usually an indicator of whether he's really, really doing good. But 24 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, and 3 steals. I can't get mad at him for that. He played great last night. But I can say that he didn't play great with the other guys on the defensive end and communicating and playing together with the switches. And they weren't even closing out. Like, they weren't up on them enough. Like, really up on them. It seemed like there was too much distance between our defenders and the Philadelphia when they're on offense and stuff like that. So, Tom Duke says, I would be here, buddy. I appreciate you, Tom Duke. You're a real one. Everybody who's showing up this morning, y'all are real ones because this is the hardest stream of the year for any team to do. This is the hardest stream of the year, and I appreciate that everybody's here still, and we can talk about this. And we'll take the positives from this. But be fair also at the same token, stuff like that. Fan Chunks here. Good to see you. Embiid looks like he is playing without pain. Was he on steroids? Laugh out loud. I don't know what it was, but he looked a lot more improved from Monday. And that's great for Philadelphia Nation because he did look way better physically and stuff like that. Once again, he was Bush League, as Jack called it. He was very Bush League in that moment. And that's the thing. We told you this all along, Joel. We want to like you. We want to respect you like we respect Maxey. That's the thing. Raptors Nation loves Maxey. Maxey's badass. A whole bunch of Raptor fans are saying, boy, we wish we could have Maxey. But in B, we don't like you or respect you because you're kind of a fucking asshole in all kinds of ways. You could be a dominant badass player in this league and not have all this bullshit on the side of it. And I understand it is whatever. And your fan nation thinks you're in our heads and stuff like you're not. You're just an idiot to us in a lot of ways. And Jack Armstrong was exactly right when he said what you did with the airplane again last night was Bush League. And we saw what happened right after that. You got a fucking elbow to the face and you were bleeding on the bench afterwards. And, that was a receipt for just acting out on our court. Even though Pascal in the press interview after the game said, I didn't mean to do it, and I apologized to him, and I don't want to hurt anyone. Well, you know what? It is very timely and coincidental that happened exactly right after that. So you do the math and you figure out whether he meant to do it or not. But I love it. I mean, because listen, all through this series, he's been a bully, Joel Embiid. He's been a bully to us right away from the start, hitting people or hurting people. And our team showed that they would stand up to him. One of the question marks I've had for this season is, do we have a Charles Oakley? Do we have a Serge Ibaka on this team at this point? Well, we have different guys that are ready to do that. And we've seen OG do this. We've seen Chris Boucher do this. We've seen Precious do this. We've seen Pascal do this. All of these guys did enforcer work during this series, and I'm really proud of them that they stood their ground. They didn't let Embiid and the Sixers punk them in different ways like they tried to, whether it's them giving receipts back after game one and the next game, or just like what I just talked about, hitting him in the face after he does a stupid ass airplane and stuff like that. So that's really good stuff in those kind of ways. That made me happy that, that kind of thing happened. But yeah, listen, last night was tough to watch for all kinds of different reasons. I just want to make a real quick point that the Maple Leafs were sitting at courtside last night, and that's never good for us. I'm going to tell you right now. I know some of y'all are also Maple Leaf fans, but when they show up and they sit at courtside, we always lose. It's like, I don't want to, all right, you can connect the dots as far as what I will say right here, because I'm not just going to outward say it. When the Maple Leafs are sitting at courtside, we lose. That's just statistically true. And then the other thing about the refs last night, very weird reffing last night in different places. And maybe they brought these guys, these con artist refs, Zach Zarba and Bill Kennedy, because they're likable. They're likable guys. I was talking about Luther Vandross and singing karaoke with Bill Kennedy yesterday, and a lot of people think Zach Zarba is a very fair, great ref. They have good reputations. So they're the kind of refs, when they come and ref your game, you can't be too mad at them. But they did do some shady shit last night. I'm not going to lie. They did do some shady shit with the foul calls in different ways, with the side outs and who was getting to the foul line. And then also that whole thing that happened at the end where it took away our points that Pascal scored. They called an offensive foul on him. And that didn't make any sense, because the first thing they said was an official's timeout to review the play. And it wasn't actually the coach's challenge by Doc. And they had already ruled it a certain way after the official's challenge. And then Doc came in with the coach's challenge on top of that. And they reversed everything. That was so fucking fishy. And I did not like that. Zach Zarba, you're really going to be somebody that I'm going to watch closely, because you're kind of like, I think you are a league office kind of hit job kind of guy on the down low. It's just that you're very smart about how you do it, and you do it undercover. So I think that I'm going to be really watching Zach Zarba real close in the future, as far as when he referees Raptor games and stuff like that, because there was a manipulation by the refs, but it was very underlying. And I'm not going to say that it was the ultimate thing that did us in. It really was our defensive intensity and lack of communication and lack of effort on the defensive end last night. That was ultimately the thing, because the Sixers scored so many fucking points, and it was every single quarter. Now, in the first half, we could keep up with them offensively and keep it close. But then we got in that dead patch where we couldn't score at all, and they busted it open. They could just continue to score and score and score, and we could not shut them down at any point. And that really was, like I said, James Harden jump starting their offense by showing up finally and getting everybody else feeling good. And they were all making their shots. Like, you leave a Sixers player open behind the 3-point line, they're going to make the shot. And that's the difference between them and us, is that if we're left behind the 3-point line, we don't know if we're going to make the shot. There's nobody who's a dead eye on our team. There's nobody that's absolutely for sure going to make his three no matter what when they shoot. It doesn't matter if it's Fred. It doesn't matter if it's Gary. But on their side, they have guys that are absolute dead eyes. And Yang is probably one of the biggest ones. But Danny Green woke up and he was hitting his threes last night. And then, of course, Tobias Harris. In the corner threes that Tobias Harris hit us were some of the biggest daggers in the series because, listen, he's not always that great a three-point shooter. But when he's on, he's absolutely killing you. And we couldn't afford to have Tobias also be a three-point bomber killing us last night also because they had so many different guys hitting threes last night. And we had no threes last night. We had 7 3-pointers for the whole game last night. They had 16 3-pointers. And they were hit by all kinds of different people. 3 by Harris, 4 by Danny Green, 5 by Maxey, 2 by Harden, 2 by Niang. And that is all really a big part of what killed us last night, is that we didn't get out to their 3-point shooters and they hit too many of them. And then we shot very poorly last night and they shot really well. That's just like basic basketball stuff. You shoot 39% and the other team shoots 50%, 58%, you're going to lose. You are going to lose. And that's really a lack of defense from getting that field goal percentage of theirs down. And it sucks. It sucks, man. Good morning, Callie. Good to see you. I'm very disappointed how we lost that game. It's like they watched game 1 tape over and over again. Well, Doc got right back to what worked for them in game 1. He tried to find that stuff again, and he was pretty successful. The 2 things he did really well were it was really smart for them to get James to jumpstart the game for them, first of all. And then the second thing was they limited their turnovers once again. And that's a huge, huge stat in this whole series. When Philadelphia was turning the ball over, we were finding success, whether it's a regular season or in this series. But when they took care of the ball, they were winning usually. And that was really, really good that they did that for their team. Because last night, the turnovers were 11-10. They only had 1 more turnover than us. And we were making bad mistakes and stuff like that. We saw Scotty make a rookie mistake right at the end of the game. And it was like right at the end of the season, we finally see the rookie make a rookie mistake. It was crazy. I was like, oh, there's a rookie mistake. We finally see one by Scotty. And it's right at the end. And it is what it is. The thing with Scotty that's very interesting about last night is as soon as the game ended, he did not hang around on the court to thank anybody or welcome anybody or do anything like that. He ran right off the court. And I think that he's really angry about losing last night and upset in different ways and stuff like that. So very interesting there. Tom Duke saying JoJo is something else. Hate to say it, but Spicy's elbow was such a good example of karma. Yeah. Yeah. Even if it wasn't intentional, the timing was sublime. That the timing was absolutely sublime. And the fact that he had to go and sit there and stuff like that. Yeah, it's weird how things can work in mysterious ways and happen very quickly, happen real quickly and stuff like that. But that was that was just a little like, all right. Cause like he was so arrogant and stuff like that. And listen, I know Joel, he says this, what he says is he respects our crowd. He respects our coach. He respects our team. But this is a common example of your actions speak louder than your words. And your words are not lining up with your actions because you are not being respectful as a player in general to our coach, to our fans, to whoever. So if you have respect for us, then act respectful. That's what I would say, Joel. But that's fine. It doesn't matter. Listen, they're going to go to Miami and they're going to have a really hard time down there. I'm going to tell you right now. That, Kyle Lowry and those guys are going to mess them up. And, I mean, there's a lot of good things about Philadelphia's team, and they do have some good weapons. And who knows, maybe James Harden will get a kick in his ass and he'll start actually doing stuff for them. But Miami's a very much a defensive team like we are, and they have better shooters than we do. So Philadelphia, if you let them get open shots, if you guys get into a shootout, with the Miami Heat, you're probably going to have trouble because they have better shooters and more of them in some ways. So Tyler Hero right there is the best shooter in the series coming up in a lot of ways. So, all right, let's keep going. Callie said OG disappeared. What's with all the 3-point bricks? Yeah, OG's had a bad couple of games. Like he had a bad game the last game too, even though we played really well. I don't want to read too much into it. Everybody on every team always goes through the ups and downs, and sometimes they have it, and sometimes they just don't. And OG had 5 points last night. He hit 1 3 out of 4. He was 2 of 7. He had 1 rebound and 1 steal. The one thing about OG last night is that he got that Fred VanVleet game one treatment by the refs. They hit him with 2 quick fouls very early, and Nick had to take him out of the game. And what he was saying last night in the press conference last night was he took OG out too early because of 2 fouls. And then when he brought him back in, he never found a way to get back involved in the game effectively. And that was part of the problem is that he got those 2 quick fouls. He had to go sit. And then when he came back out, he never actually got back into the game like he normally does. And that's really a big part of all that. It sucks. But the one thing that I'm kind of disappointed in more is the normal level of defensive intensity from OG just wasn't there in some ways. And as a whole, he's kind of like the leader of the defense and like really being the guy who's like switching and really doing suffocating stuff. And it didn't seem like he was doing that as hard to the Sixers last night as normal. And I don't know, but I don't want to be too critical. Like I said, he had 2 fouls too early, got foul trouble. And then, he just wasn't able to get back in the game and get any kind of game rhythm, partly because of that. G saying, I had a feeling the 2 days rest would play in their favor. Embiid, Payne, and game planning, all good. Proud of them. Future is on fire. It's bright. Oh, yeah, G. Yeah, the perspective here is long term, and like we need to celebrate. Honestly, instead of being upset or being mad or sad or anything, we need to celebrate, and that's exactly what we're gonna do tomorrow, y'all. Tomorrow's going to be the first ever Saturday Spotlight show, and I'm going to be doing the year in the review. Like we're going to talk about the season, the 2021-2022 Toronto Raptors season, just kind of go over different parts of it and talk about like great times and share just great memories of this past season and stuff. So we'll do the season in review tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. And then Sunday, I'm going to be doing my first special report. I think I might do, I'm not sure if I'm going to do, I might do the Tim Donaghy Netflix series and how this may affect the NBA, or I might do the greatest Raptor of all time report that I've been talking about also. So if you guys have an interest in either one of those stories, pick one of them right now and write it in, and I'll do whichever one you guys request between the greatest Raptor of all time report that I was talking about earlier is a rating system I have for determining who the greatest Raptor of all time is. Or do you want to hear about the Tim Donaghy Netflix docuseries coming up? Because I can tell y'all all about what that's going to entail and what's going to happen. Because I've listened to the Whistleblower podcast and I know a lot of the story that's going to be in it before they release it, because I know what it's based on. So if you guys want to write in whichever one you're interested in, if there's no clear one, I'll just pick one, whichever one's more ready to be on Sunday, which it may be the greatest Raptor of all time one. All right, let's see. Anselm's here. Good to see you, Anselm. Boom. Hey, brother, just checking in while on break at work. What a great development season, and good for all those fans at Jurassic Park who booed the Fairweather fans who left the building early. Yes, Anselm. I didn't even know that happened. Thanks for pointing that out to me. That, hey, if the fans in Jurassic booed the fans who are walking out of the building on the way out, good for them. And you know what? Listen, our fan base looked good last night in a lot of different ways. When we were finishing it down, look at the difference between Sixers Nation on Monday night, the way they treated their team, and then you look at how our fans gave them a standing ovation and cheered "Let's go Raptors" when they knew that their season was done. They showed them love and appreciation, gave them all standing ovations when they came out, and that's the way it should be. And I'm so happy that that's the way that all went down and stuff like that. But yeah, just disappointing in some ways, but also, you know what? We did good. We got 2 wins, and this is all really good experience for Scotty Barnes, Precious Achiuwa, and the rest of them. Pascal grew a bit as a playoff player in this series. All kinds of different things were learned and interesting from it for sure. So let's see. G's saying Rap shot horribly, but refs calling common fouls on Embiid when he obviously made non-ball plays was hard to watch. Yeah, they gave him a bit of the golden boy treatment last night, which is unfortunate. We were hoping that wouldn't happen. But I think that really the way the whistle went last night was because the Raptors were not putting in the right kind of effort. Like if we had been the aggressor, we had been the hardest working team on the court in some ways last night, then I think that the refs would have helped us out a little bit more. But we weren't that. Philadelphia was the aggressor. Philadelphia was playing better than us. They were playing harder than us. And in that case, we deserve to lose because we did not bring it all to leave it all on the court. And this is kind of symptomatic of our whole season at home, where we have some games where we show up on our home court and we're lackadaisical, and we're not really as awake as we would be in a hostile territory and stuff like that. One of the funny things that was said after the game was by Tobias Harris. He said in his after press game conference, he said they didn't want to come back to Philadelphia for a game 7 because they knew that they might have to deal with their fans turning on them and having an awful thing like Monday. So they specifically wanted to win this game in Toronto last night because they're afraid of their fan nation in their own building. If that says anything to you right there, that was part of why they were getting motivation to win in Toronto, is because they didn't want to have to show up in Philadelphia on Saturday for a game 7 and face their fans, because they know that their fans could actually give them a worse environment to play in than being in Toronto against our fans, that they would be more nervous and have more of a problem playing at home than playing on the road, is basically what Tobias Harris said after the game. Very interesting, very weird. All right, let's see. Callie saying Philly did play a good game, but I have no respect for Embiid. No flagrant fouls. What the fuck? Yeah, he got away with some very dirty stuff that probably should have been, like, Jack called him out. Like, he could have had 2 flagrant fouls last night and been tossed from the game last night if he wasn't Joel Embiid. That's the difference right there. Like I said, if that was Chris Boucher who did that shit, he probably would have got tossed out. And that was a little bit of golden boy treatment. But once again, that's not ultimately what beat us. Random Gamers here. Good to see Sixers fan. Hey, listen, you're coming to get what you deserve this morning, and you'll get it. Trust me, you will. What's up, guys? Sorry that game happened the way it did. I honestly think that the Raptors prepared us for the Heat. They play similar defensively in so many ways. I'm happy we had this series. Respect. You guys were the better team. I said I'd say this if this happened, and you guys were. You guys absolutely were the better team last night. I'm really disappointed in the defensive intensity of the Raptors last night. And Doc did what he had to do to get you guys back to being more like you were in game 1. And that was really a key right there. I really enjoyed hearing your players on the Sixers talk after the series about the Raptors. They were very respectful. They said a lot of fantastic things. And they did echo a lot of what you're saying right here, that this series, they learned things about themselves, that, they learned things about their team. And with James being such a recent addition to your roster, he's somebody who's definitely getting figured out still with how he fits in with everybody and what he should be doing as far as responsibilities. And I agree. We definitely helped you guys get ready for the Heat as far as things, because there are similarities between the Raptors and the Miami Heat in different areas, in some areas and stuff like that. But yeah, listen, I didn't hear Joel do it after game interview, and I'm glad, because honestly, he might have said something tacky. But I did hear Docs, and I did hear James Harden and Tobias Harris and what they said. And I appreciate what they said. And also at the end of the game, much like with the Golden State Denver with Jokic and Draymond Green having so much respect for each other, there was a lot of respect shown at the end of the series on our court last night when they were doing the handshakes at the end of the game. That was fantastic to see. And, that's good sportsmanship, and that's the way it should be. And this kind of stuff is the way it should all go. But congratulations, Random Gamer. I know you were sweating. If I was you, I would have been sweating too. And, listen, we didn't have anything to lose. And we've had a great year, and such good stuff happened to us. And we just didn't have enough for you guys. Like, you guys have a really talented team, a really talented offense. And they're tough to beat. You got it tough to shut down in a lot of ways, because there's different kinds of weapons. on your offense. And that's going to be really interesting to see how y'all match up. I think that what you're going to need is a lot of Embiid in this one, because I think that Embiid is a real strength, obviously, against most teams, because there's nobody in some ways that can match up with him in any kind of way. And I don't know Bam Adebayo, his matchups with Joel this year, how they've gone. I haven't really paid enough attention or anything like that, but I would feel like Joel is going to need to be really your big club that beats them over the head if y'all are going to win this series, because James and them are not going to be as effective in some ways against some of the middle defenders of Miami. So you really going to hope and pray that Joel has good games, and that may keep you in this series. So Anselm saying we need a center and rebuild the bench. Yeah, I'm with this. I am with this. And so we definitely need bench scorers. We need bench shooters. We need guys that can hit threes. Maybe we just go and find some 3-point snipers in some ways. That's what I would like the most. The center is not totally essential, but it may be really good to have as a look just in case somebody like Joel Embiid is absolutely dominating us with his size. But yes, these are really high on the priority list for this offseason. Lumpy Rex is saying, I've had a great time tuning into your channel in the mornings. What a fun year. Lumpy, I appreciate it too. I'm glad you made the move this season from Winnipeg to Toronto, and I hope you've been enjoying living in Toronto the last few months. This is a great city, and there's so much to go out and discover. And now that the weather's getting nicer, look out. This is the best time of year for all kinds of fun stuff outside here in Toronto. And Lumpy, I'm so glad you're here. And hey, listen, I'm not stopping. I'm going to be here every morning still. I know that I won't get as much traffic, obviously, but it'll be good, fun content every single day. And once again, there's going to be news and things happening and reacting to. And of course, I'll be here with all that kind of stuff and give you my takes on what I see happening and developing this summer also. So yeah, please continue to come back. G's saying all good. This is a game where Fred was needed. Yeah. You know what? That is a really good point, G. I'm going to stop your comment right in the middle, because this is absolutely true. That last night when we had that lull in the third quarter where we could not score, that is where Fred is absolutely essential. And for people that don't understand why Fred is so important in this team, that is a moment when we needed him so badly, because he's always good to get some sort of point somehow when we're really struggling and stuff like that. But all right, I'll read the rest part of this. Yeah. He's saying this is a game where Fred was needed. Sixers collapsed in the paint and let them shoot threes, which they're not good at. Fred spaces the floor and brings out defenders opening the paint. Yeah, we needed another shooter. Yeah, Gary wasn't enough. And we needed one of those other guys to come out and shoot. As I just read the Sixers three-point shooting, our three-point shooting last night was Pascal 0 for 4, OG 1 for 4, Scotty 2 for 7, Gary 2 for 6, Thad Young 0 for 2, Chris Boucher 2 for 6, Precious 0 for 2, and then everybody else missed them. So we only had what? 1, 2, 3, 4 guys hit threes, and none of them hit more than 2. So that's horrible. That's really bad. And that's a really big difference between what Philly was able to accomplish last night. And it wasn't that the shots weren't open. They just didn't go in. We don't have reliable three-point shooters. And that was a really good strategy for them to take the pain away from us. What G's saying right here. Yeah, we definitely need another shooter. And it's too bad it couldn't have been Svi. It couldn't have been more Malachi or things like that. We just need competent, real pros, established pros that are in the league, and they're like league level guys, not guys who are in the bubble of maybe being in or out of the league. We need guys that are absolutely bench pros that can score and shoot like they're money when they shoot. That's what we need. G's saying they were selling tickets to the second round before the game, found it odd, but Sixers played smart, kept getting it into the corner with threes, which we do not defend well. Yeah, those corner threes by Niang and Danny Green and Tobias Harris absolutely killed us. Absolutely killed us. But this is something that's been killing us all season. These corner threes. That's actually how far we have to stretch things out for the other team, is they have to absolutely go to the very far corner to get enough room away from us. And then boom, they're really good in that spot. Boom, they're hitting them. So Yeah, it was tough. They're talking about the selling tickets. There's a lot of talk about this, but listen, they preemptively sell tickets to the next round and different things just in case and stuff like that. I know it seems like it's not classy, and that ESPN shut the door on us real quick by putting the schedule up and stuff like that. They're gonna do this kind of stuff. I don't give a fuck about any of that kind of stuff. It is whatever. It's like it's just dumb. It is whatever. Fan Fan Chung is talking about Jalen Harris again, it looks like. Let me see what he's saying. Can the Raptors bring back Jalen Harris from prior year roster? Well, we have the rights to him, and I don't know when his ban is up. That's the thing. He's under a substance ban because he did substances, and he's under I think it's a 1-year ban, is how long it is. So if you go by that, he won't be allowed to come back to the NBA till June or July because that's when he got banned last year. So we'll see. We'll see. It's the kind of thing where, like, let's look at the summer league roster. Let's see who shows up in training camp and is trying to make this team. It could be that he's a persona non grata with the Raptors organization at this point. And I wouldn't hold your breath on Jalen Harris coming back. I know that everybody keeps saying that this may be the shooter guy that we need off the bench, but I don't buy it. I don't buy it. He's, to me, just as good as Malachi is. In fact, he was behind Malachi in the year he was here. And I thought that they were always very similar with how accurate they were shooting. So to me, he's not established in any kind of way. It's almost like he's got to establish himself as being a citizen that won't be on drugs. And then he's got to be a citizen. He's got to establish himself as being able to be in the league. We want somebody established. Because after this year, we've had these guys at our end of our bench. None of them are established NBA players. And that's what I'm saying. We upgrade our bench with established NBA players, guys that belong in the league. We know belong in the league, have staked their claim on the league because they play to a certain level. And these guys are not that. These guys are bubble guys that are maybe a year or two out of the league because of how they're playing right now, is what I'm saying. So Jalen Harris is even worse than the guys that we had on the bench this year because we don't even know if he's allowed to be in the league. So there's different levels of dependability. And there's a whole other level of questions with him. So I wouldn't hold your breath on that one for sure. G said, on another note, did you see what Dragic did? Yeah, I did see what Dragic did. He's a fucking idiot. And he's getting it for it. Like, he really is. People are coming after him. And it's not even Raptors Nation that's coming after him. I think even Sixers Nation came after him for us, trying to tell him, like, who the fuck are you? You got swept out. And once again, they keep showing this Drake tweet from like years ago, the same bench people talking like they're starters is basically what we'll say right here. Bench people talking like they're starters. Yeah, because it's ridiculous. Listen, honestly, just once again, what Joel Embiid, what Goran Dragic, what LeBron James, what these guys do reflects poorly on them. That is what ultimately it is. You could be a badass, Joel. You can be an MVP candidate, but if you act like a child and you act like a bad winner, then you look bad yourself. It's not that we look bad or anything. You're showing up stuff. You look bad because you set a horrible example for young people that are playing in sports that are now they're gonna hit a shot in their game and they're gonna start doing stupid ass airplanes in their games. And it may cause bad sportsmanship in young people. So you're a bad example for young people playing basketball, is what you are, Joel. And Goran, same thing. Like, listen, this just makes you look bad and salty. It's like you could be just shut up and just be quiet. You don't have to chime in on what happened with us. In fact, you're dead to us. You have nothing to do with us. We've forgotten about you for the most part. But then you fucking do something like this and you have nothing to do with this. Just move on with your life. Really, seriously. Because, like, listen, you did a good job of almost staying professional, as you said you would be this year at the beginning of the year. I'm going to be a professional. That's not professional, fucking tweeting bullshit like that, especially when you don't have a leg to stand on, you fucking dumbass. Like, seriously, you got swept. Who are you to fucking talk shit? And the other thing I'll tell him right now, and this is something I'll show to a couple people if they came in here, but nobody's come in here right now, is this. This right here, Goran Dragic. This. Have you ever seen one of these? See how heavy that was? This is almost a real one. I'm not going to lie right now. I got one of the better ones, the replicas. This right here is a fucking championship ring, Goran Dragic. Have you ever fucking had a championship ring of any kind of sort? Then no. So shut the fuck up with your stupid ass tears, you swept ass, bunch ass bitch. is what you are, Goran Dragic. That's what I'll say right there. Oh my gosh. Marlon Toby is saying, to the off season we go, and away we go. Let's rest, get stronger and healthier, and we'll be back next season. Yes, Marlon. Yes, let's have some break. Let's just enjoy. We're going to celebrate the Raptor season. We're going to do some looking back. We're going to watch some watch-alongs. We'll do some trivia. We'll do all kinds of fun stuff. But every morning I'll be here still. And the content's going to shrink. There's not going to be any more 4-5 hour streams, obviously, but it'll be like more like 5-minute digestible little things. You can just get your daily Raptor Freak fix for just that day or something like that. So yeah, it's going to be changing. Sam T's here. He's saying bench is not the problem. Nick Nurse only likes to play his starters. No, the bench is the problem, Sam, because he can't rely on any of them. Now, he tried to use them at different times, but they're all garbage. Like, they won't hit their open shots. They're defensive liabilities, and you don't have any depth because of that, because these guys cannot be counted on in any kind of way. So the bench was a big problem. And other teams have great benches. Like Philadelphia, I don't even think Philadelphia has that good of a bench, but Miami does. And that's the thing. We can upgrade our team without like getting rid of any core guys or moving anybody around, and just get new bench guys, and our team will get better next year. Besides all the growth that each individual on this team will find from developing their game in the offseason and getting better on their own, we can upgrade our team by just getting some of the guys at the end of the bench that just do not contribute enough or do enough for us. And I'm not going to name their names. We all know who they are. But we could get people like somebody like Jamal Crawford or Lou Williams or somebody like that kind of style bench scorer. This team will be a lot better next year. And that's what I'm trying to say about that right now. But yeah, part of the reason why Nick Nurse played his starters so heavy this year was because he really wanted to keep the guys who are part of our future playing together as much as possible. Because he was kind of trying to fast track getting synergy and really good cohesiveness between the team. And there's still a lack of that. There's a lot of things that we're going to get better about when our team gets more gelled. Like, I don't even think our team is that gelled at all. Like, gelled, meaning like they know each other really well, like the back of their hand, and they know exactly all their favorite spots and you know, all the kind of different things like that. I don't even think our team is like that yet. And they will. And that's another area where we'll get way, way better when we get more efficient on offense, because we understand each other and play better off each other. But yeah, bench is a really easy way to upgrade our team for next year. Ken A saying, nice season. We just have to learn how to shoot and beat the zone. Our percentage really sucks. Yeah, we were not a good shooting team this year. In fact, most of our success was found through our defense and just stifling people. And we would win games where both teams would shoot really badly. And it was a grind kind of thing, like game 5. And, you know, when it was a shootout, whenever it was an offensive shootout with a team that had a really good offense and no defense was being played, we lose because we just don't have the firepower consistently to sustain a barrage from, you know, another team that has really good offensive players. And we're trying to keep up with them, and we just don't have the consistency on our offensive end. And that was a big problem this year with some of the losses. Random Gamers saying, laughing my ass off, G. Why is Dragic talking crap? His team got swept, and he probably won't even be in the league next season. Like, who actually wants him? I know, Random Gamer. It's ridiculous. Like, part of his plan, it's been come out recently, was he wanted to go right back to the Miami Heat. That the one thing when San Antonio bought him out and he was a free agent and he could go wherever he fucking wants, he asked the Heat to sign him back, and they said no, they don't want him. His own fucking team that he was fucking trying to get back with, he wore their shirt when he was under our contract and on our team, and he went to their game when we played them and wore a Miami Heat shirt. It's like, what the fuck? This dude is such an idiot. The team that he wanted to play on, his old team that he played for years on, they didn't even fucking want him back. So he's a loser. He's a loser in all kinds of different ways. And I think you're right, Random Gamer. This guy may not be playing on this continent next year. You know, unless Luka and Mark Cuban are saying, yeah, you can have your buddy Luka on Dallas or something like that. I don't see, is he going to stay in the Nets? I don't know, because Steve Nash likes him and stuff like that. I don't know. They're buddies too. But it could very well be that he's in a EuroLeague or he's playing in China or something like that very soon. I don't understand that. It's so crazy. G said Sixers did the same. Playoffs are tight rotations. When I talk about the bench stuff, it's not really for the playoffs. I'm talking about just for the whole grind of the season. and just maybe possibly trying to find useful weapons for specialty reasons off the bench. That's more it. But yeah, I understand. This like playoff rotations are very tight, like 7, 8 guys, stuff like that. Callie saying, is everyone rooting for Miami? In some ways I am. Just because of Kyle, and there is a little bit of a bad taste just from Joel Embiid. But I'll root. You know what? In some ways, I root for the individual at this point. It's really a weird thing. Like I'll root for Kyle and I'll root for Tyrese Maxey. It's that kind of thing because there's Heat players I absolutely hate, and I do not want the Heat to win another championships in a lot of ways. But I also do want Miami to win this series coming up with Philadelphia because my love for Kyle outweighs any of the everything. But there are players on Miami that I absolutely despise, and there's players that I really love on Philadelphia. So it's a really kind of a tough thing in some ways. But yeah, I fully endorse Raptor fan cheering for Miami purely because of Kyle Lowry. And I that's great. It's just I don't want to see Kyle get more rings with another team. It's kind of like when your girlfriend, you break up and you're still on good terms, but you see her dating somebody else and they're really, really happy. You don't necessarily, it's not fun to watch. That kind of thing. G saying random, no idea, laughing my ass off. He wants to be the villain so bad. I don't even think I think that in his way, I don't know what it is. It just wasn't necessary. And he just looks stupid. Like that's once again, people were lip service. They say one thing and they do another. He said he wants to be a professional this year. Well, you haven't fucking acted professional all year, Goran, whether it's going to the game and wearing Miami stuff while you're under contract with us, whether it's doing whatever the fuck you did this year. And none of that shit was professional, man. Come on, you're kidding yourself. You are not a professional, Goran Dragic. You are a fucking salty little bitch, is what you are in a lot of ways. Yeah, let's see. Random saying, I mean, at least Raptors fought back down 0-3. Nets just rolled over and called it a series. Dragic is a clown. Yeah, he's absolutely a clown. And like, I don't understand it. Anyway, the less I talk about foreign tragic from the rest of my life, the better. But seriously, his chapter with the Raptors is over. He's not going to get another one. And, listen, it's not like I'm worried about him going out and ruling the world of basketball at some point and lording it over us like somebody like Joel Embiid. But anyway, Sam T saying, good season overall. Many so-called experts didn't see us in the playoffs. We made Philly fans boo their own team, and Siakam's elbow was the cherry on the cake. Yeah, Sam, there were so many good things to celebrate, and that's what we'll do tomorrow. We're going to celebrate the season tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. We're going to just do a season recap and just kind of talk about all the things we enjoyed as Raptor fans during the season. And I hope Paul B shows up because he's the man who has all the memories. And we just throw him out there and talk about all the different moments and different achievements and crazy, awesome things that happened in Raptors season this year. And I hope you'll join us too, Sam, tomorrow, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I know it's Saturday. Some people may not want to do it, but hey, listen. I'm going to do this. So I want to do a season review, and then the spotlight Saturday will turn into celebrating individual team players each week over the whole course of this summer. We'll do a Scotty Appreciation Day. We'll do a Siakam Appreciation Day, a Fred Appreciation Day, a Nick Nurse Appreciation Day, and just talking about all the things that we're really thankful and grateful for about these individuals that are involved with our franchise and stuff like that. G saying they play better in hostile environments. I really do believe this. Like, honestly, in some ways, Tampa did ruin us for a home team. It's like they were gone for so long ago that they came back home and they're kind of like, oh, this is so comfortable. Like, oh, it's so nice to be creature comforts of being at home. And then they're like too lazy or they're not too lackadaisical in Toronto. I don't know what it is. But yeah, there's something weird about that. And they do get up to go against a hostile crowd, obviously, from what we saw Monday. Let's see. Death 4K's here. Good to see Death. Let's see. We had a great year. People forget that we did better as a rebuilding and an injured team than teams like Lakers, Nets, Hawks, Knicks, etc. Yeah. I mean, not that we need to compare our team to any other teams because this is for everybody as an individual. The less you compare yourself to the other people around you or anybody in the world, the happier you are, because comparison's the thief of happiness. And you're never going to keep up with the Joneses in different ways. So it's really that you want to keep up with yourself and that you want to be a better version of yourself. So it's like, wow, we could gauge ourselves against the Knicks, but really, is that fair to the Knicks? Because the Knicks, I mean, but we are so much more better than we were last year at this point. Let's put it that way. Let's look at where we were when we ended the season in Tampa last year and where we are right now. And that's a great way to gauge and compare what's going on with us. Because I don't like looking at other teams because it's such a different animal for each team in different ways. But yes, we can say that we have way more success than so many teams that a lot of experts thought would be way better than us. And we know these teams are like Lakers, Clippers, Nets. If somebody told you at the beginning of the season, or you told somebody else the Raptors are going to be better than the Lakers, the Nets, the Clippers by the end of the year, as far as what they did in the playoffs, they probably have laughed at you. They probably would have said, "You're fucking crazy. There's no way the Raptors will do better than LeBron and the Lakers and the team that he has. There's no way you guys will do better than Kawhi and the Clippers. There's no way you'll do better than Kevin and the Nets." Well, we did, motherfucker. We did do better than all them. We outlasted them, and we got more playoff wins than all those teams combined. That's what I'm going to say right now. So, yeah, it's really that way. Death saying, do you think running this team back will be beneficial for both parties? I feel like we have clear roster roles that we need to address. Roster holes that we need to address. Should our core be changed to address some of these issues? I don't think our core should be. Like, if we're talking about our main rotation guys, I love it. I want to keep it. In fact, the growth with these guys is going to be really Scotty taking more responsibility in different ways, whether it's him becoming more of a point forward kind of ball distributor, or him being more aggressive on his offense. In fact, we saw it last night. This was actually really one of the first games where Scotty was absolutely trying to force his offense on the other team. And he had mixed success. Like, there was some points where he looked pretty good, but he took 20 shots last night. That's the most shots he's taken in forever. He had the most shots out of all the Raptors. And you could see he was being way more aggressive, but he only got 18 points. But there were times where Scotty was absolutely forcing his offense. And it's different results. Some of it wasn't good because he was kind of out of the box that he had been playing within this whole season, which was very natural. Let the game come to him. But he was kind of actually forcing himself in the game last night. And it didn't look totally good. He had some problems in different ways, but this is going to be the thing. He's going to get better as a player. He's going to learn and learn and learn. And if he's this good in his rookie year, winning rookie of the year and being an all-around player, just imagine as he fine-tunes different skills, like whether it's his low post, like ability to score on anybody, if he gets better and better at that and he becomes deadly down there, or just getting better with his three-point shot, like hitting it more consistently and stuff like that. But the short answer to your question, Death, is I don't think we should do anything with the main guys. There should be no major trades this summer. There should only be like little, re-signing Boucher and Thad, and then maybe just signing a bench free agent, like in the way I've been talking about, a scorer that's not like a young guy. A guy who's in his late 20s or his early 30s who can be somewhat of an experienced vet like Thad is, but he's also a really good scorer shooter for us. That is the kind of profile that I'm looking for as far as things. And they don't have to be a positionless guy. It would help if they fit in the positionless scheme. That would be an added bonus, but they could actually be like a 6'5", 6'6" guy, a guy that's around Gary's height. And that would be perfectly fine too. But yeah, that is the main thing I really see is we need more effective scorers and shooters, guys that are actually really you can count on. If they're open, they're going to hit the shot for sure. G saying this is why Green is valuable in the playoffs. Composed and gets his threes when it matters. A vet three-point shooter would be a great addition. Yeah, G's bringing up Danny Green. In a way, yeah, he's actually exactly what I'm trying to describe right here. If we had Danny Green off the bench right now, that might be exactly what we need. But he's also the kind of guy that he'll disappear at times like that. But he was a huge factor last night. It's like Harden jump started them. And then when they needed somebody else to kind of carry water at different times, there he was with hitting threes here and there. And they really hurt us. Like, honestly, Danny was really hurting us last night with his 4 for 7 shooting from three. And a lot of those threes came in the first half. and stuff like that. So it was really bad. But yeah, that is what I'm talking about. A Danny Green style guy. He would probably fit. All right, Suns fan came back and said, "Go Suns again." Well, you guys finished your series with the Pelicans. Good for you. They gave you a good run, didn't you? And I'm sure you were a little sweating because Booker was out for a little bit like that, stuff like that. Well, hey, listen, a Suns fan, I support your nation. And on the West Side, hey, you're the team I'm rooting for. So you got a friend here. I'm not going to be up against you or anything. Death 4K saying getting a shot creator and a center is what I'm interested to see how we address. This team is clearly lacking in a bench, but our young guys can fill out that responsibility. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree with this statement right here. Really, we don't want, like, people may be calling for people's heads to be traded this summer in Raptors fan nation. And it's stupid. It's stupid. This core is really good. And one of the things that's really good about it also is they're really like got good chemistry and they really love playing together. Like, I really love what Chris said after the game last night. Chris Boucher said in his interview last night, and this may be giving us a tell about his free agency this summer. He said, I would not want to play with anybody else out there other than my team out there. And that is a tell that may be that, yeah, he's going to be re-signed and he'll be in a Raptors jersey after this free agency that he's in for this summer. So I really like that. And I think that that's true. That Chris is a weird guy. He's got a very eccentric personality in some ways, and that he may not get the same kind of respect on another franchise, or, there could be all kinds of different problems for him. He's kind of got things figured out with us. The fan base really loves him and champions him. He could go to another team. Like if he was on Philly, they may be cruel to him in some ways. They may be like talking like some of the stuff they've been saying about him this series, talking about, he's like paper thin and all this kind of, they could be real ugly. And they may be talking about how he needs to hit the weight room and shit like that, or eat a sandwich or something like that. But yeah, that's the thing. I think Chris is probably going to stay with us, and hopefully it'll be a good, fair deal that doesn't really hamper us too much. And he gets a good chunk of money that he deserves also at the same time. So, but yeah, good points by Death 4K and good questions. And this is the mode we're switching into, off-season mode, speculation mode. This is the time where maybe I will talk a little bit of trade talk, is the off-season. I won't do it during the season, but in the off-season I will. Tom Duke saying 7 billion people on this earth. Messiah is out searching places others aren't for new shiny pieces we need. Yeah, trust in Messiah. He's got eyes all around the world, and he knows this is the thing. You guys know that Masai Ujiri's first job in the NBA was a scout. He worked for the Orlando Magic, and he wasn't making any money even. Like, he was working, and he was actually costing money because he had to travel at his own expense, and he wasn't making enough to cover it. And he was literally sometimes like sleeping in his car and shit like that when he first started his career with the NBA. Well, look at where he's gotten to now. And that really is that he was a really astute scout, that he really understood what he was doing. And then they gave him the job in Denver. And that has just ballooned and then become this with us and stuff like that. So that's the thing. That is actually what his first role was a scout. So he's a scout himself. He is a trained NBA scout and one of the best in the history of the NBA. And that's part of the secret to his success, is that he does a lot of the scouting himself. He has his own people go out and find people, but he is the one who's looking at them and really evaluating whether he wants them to be involved with our franchise or not. It's fantastic. Let's see. Arizona Phoenix Suns fans saying at Death 4K, y'all need Ayton, but you can't have him. We love Ayton. Ayton be great. But listen, we've said this a couple times in the last week. We don't want a center that will sacrifice our mobility. We don't want anybody too slow. And Ayton is right near that line. Like, he is fast enough. I think he's a very mobile center. In fact, sometimes he reminds me of David Robinson in different ways. But yeah, Cards fan, listen, Arizona fan, Phoenix fan, you're welcome here. You've come in here and popped in here every once in a while, and there's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate you being here, and you don't have an enemy here. I don't have any enemies in the Western Conference except for LeBron James and the Lakers. Every single other Western team, for the most part, I'm fine with. The Warriors are a little weird too, but otherwise, every single other Western team, I respect and I like them because they're not a divisional opponent. They're not, some Eastern team that we've had battles in the playoffs that we hate, like Miami or something like that. So, Phoenix Suns fan, you've got a friend here. Somebody's liked you. I have a Phoenix Suns jersey in the other room of Charles Barkley from the year when you guys were in the finals against Michael Jordan. So, you have a friend here. So you can be friendly here and we can talk everything good here. Um, Tom Duke saying Lexi's got a ring. Yeah, I got my bling bling. I had to bring this out just in case, because this is really important to show somebody like a Sixer fan who may come in here and try and, you guys have wrenches and you're ready just in case. Yeah, but this is also, if the wrenches don't get them, this will get them ultimately, because this is really easy to show. 1983 was the last time Philadelphia won. So let's not get it twisted here. But I haven't had to do that yet. Random Gamers here, he's very respectful. We're being good losers, and he's being a good winner, so everything's good. And Phoenix fan, he's here. I don't know why, but I don't mind. I like the traffic. Let's see, Florent Stewart Kachami Kachulig. I'm sorry, I probably butchered that horribly. I'll just say Florette. Embiid is not good. That's just a pure, simple statement by Florette. And you know what? I won't disagree with this to an extent. He's a good basketball player. He's very skilled. He has super good size and a great talent for his size. That's the thing. When sometimes people are that big, they cannot ever get some of the skills that he gets, like the soft touch, the good shooting touch, and some of the nimbleness and the footwork. But you know what? He is not good as far as what I was saying, as being a role model for young people in sports, as for being a good winner, or as for different things like that. You could take a better example from Tyrese Maxey, who's much younger than him, and how to win with class. You could take even from a guy like James Harden. James Harden was way classier last night in all kinds of ways. And like once again, I'll say this, James Harden has actually earned more respect in my mind after this season. That's the thing. You can beat my team and I will respect you even more because of what you did. But with Joel, it went the wrong way. It's really too bad because I want to like the guy. I did at the beginning of the series, but he's just absolutely an asshole. And just the way he acts is just wrong. Is you shouldn't do that. Like I said, if anything, not because of what he did to us, it's just the example of being a showboat and acting as a poor winner for young people that are involved in sports in other places. And that's what I'm talking about right there. G saying, why do I feel Barnes is going to come back with some new tools and Delano may have some sort of jump shot? Yeah, I believe that too. I think we'll see. I want Delano to work on his free throw shooting. Obviously, once again, his free throws look so bad when he gets up the line. It's just like clunks and it's stuff like that. But he did get a 3-point play and stuff like that. And then yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what work Scotty puts in this offseason. Maybe he goes to Rico Hines with Pascal and he gets some advanced, quick learning in different ways with that crew out there and the way they run things out there. I have no idea what he's going to do. I've also heard some things that Scotty is interested in being in Toronto for the summer because he wants to see what the summer is like here and the fun and stuff like that. And that's really good too. So we may see Scotty around Toronto a bit this summer at places like Carabana and different things that are going on and stuff like that. And I'd like him to see the balance of Toronto weather and see how nice it really does get here in the summer. It's too bad that the NBA season kind of coincides with the worst kind of weather up here in some ways. So let's see. Race Mode Daily's here. Good to see you, man. Nice work this season, Lex. Looking forward to what you have planned this summer for content. Keep it up. You got it, Race Mode Daily. Listen, just because we're going to the off season doesn't mean I'm going to quit. I'm going to keep going. In fact, I'm going to try and up my game this summer and really come with some well-researched, well-produced content for you guys to enjoy so that you can think about Raptors all summer long and think about what's coming up ahead. And like I said, some of this stuff is really interesting to me. Like the Thursday think tank thing that we're going to do on Thursdays is really going to be like a hive mind where we're all going to share our ideas about exactly what we wish and hope the Raptors are able to do or react to things that they do and just talk about the promise of the future in different ways for the Raptors franchise and stuff. So I appreciate that, Race Mode, and I will. If I'm going to show up this morning and take the burn of having a season close on us, I will definitely be here on days that are a lot easier to come and set up this live stream. I'll tell you right now. Death 4K saying Raptors want defenders first who can be taught to shoot. Ayton is nice, but Raptors really want a Mobley type of center, and you can see clearly that they want those mobile guys at the 5, not Ayton. I completely agree with this. And in fact, you're kind of echoing what I was trying to say to Suns fan already. And that is part of the symptom of why our team doesn't shoot well. Is we do value that athletic, physical kind of guy, like our most of our players, and that maybe we do need more guys like Gary Trent. And maybe they need to be not as streaky either. They need to be like very like fundamental and just like that. They're automatic. And like some of the shooters we have faced recently, like Niang and Struz, not Korkmaz, I won't say Korkmaz, or Hero, those kind of people, stuff like that. Let's see. Summer Lowe's here. Good to see you, Summer. I'm glad you showed up today. Nets have a bunch of losers on their team. What do they? Yeah, they really do in a lot of ways. Like, if you want to talk, we can talk about each one of them, why they're losers. You know, whether you want to talk about Kyrie, why he's a loser, you can talk about why Kevin's a loser. You could talk about why Goran's a loser, Blake Griffin. All these guys are losers for different reasons. And I completely agree with you, Summer. And I don't think that that's like an unfair statement that these guys are losers. You know, this is true. Rahul's saying screw Dragic was so unprofessional when he was on the Raptors. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, we got our Sixers fan here. Let's see what they're saying. I appreciate you being here. Let's see. As a Sixers fan, I and most of my friends wanted the Raps to win in 2019. The idea of losing to the champs somehow made it more palatable. Root for the Sixers. Okay, I appreciate your appeal to us. And you know what? I understand your logic. And you know what? In some ways, I will be rooting for you guys. It's hard for me to root for your franchise just straight up, but I can root for individual players on your team. I really root for Maxey. I think he's the future of your team in a lot of different ways. And like badass, he's a badass. And I will root for Maxey in all kinds of situations. Now, you got to understand our affinity for Kyle Lowry is just really, really an important part of our history. In fact, this ring right here is a Kyle Lowry championship ring. It's a number 7 with his name on it right there and stuff like that. So it's really hard for us to root against him specifically. Although, you know what? Listen, if you guys make it a long series and drag it out and stuff like that, I just want to see entertaining basketball. That's basically it. I want to see you guys have a good series and a good clash with them and stuff like that. But I appreciate your appeal to us. And you know what? Listen, if you guys are, it depends on the matchups each round. Like if you guys get past Miami and you're playing Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals, I will definitely be rooting for y'all because Boston is absolutely the team I hate the most. So, we don't like you guys to a certain extent, but we really hate Boston. So if you had been playing the Nets, we would have rooted for y'all also. It's just it happens to be Kyle Lowry. And that's the thing that makes it hard for us to get on that. But I totally do the same thing that you're talking about as when a team puts my team out, sometimes I root for them because it makes us look better because we eventually lost the eventual champion, which is what you're saying about 2019. So I totally get your logic. I only had 2 drinks. And thanks for being here. And thanks for being respectful as a good winner and not just rubbing it in and talking shit this morning. Because listen, you guys were the best team. You deserve to win. And now you guys are advancing. Good job. Good job. Seriously, I really mean that. Raymond Jacobs saying, no offense to Kyle, but I read he was talking to Danny already saying, see you guys in Miami. What the fuck, Kyle? I don't know when he said that, Raymond Jacob, or something like that. I mean, listen, we got to understand when we were down 0-3, that hill to climb right there is so high. And like this, we can't get mad at people for thinking that we would not be able to do something that's never been done in history, in some ways. I mean, we really thought we could, and we were halfway there. But yeah, in some ways, I don't care about that. Like there's a lot of people that are whining and crying about like things happening too quickly because this series just ended last night and things are getting put up and stuff like that. Part of it is that the NBA and things have to put all that stuff up for the information to be out there as quickly as possible. And this kind of stuff I don't really care about. I mean, it's silly. I know a lot of people are pointing out stuff like this today, but to me, you know what I care about more actually is that the Leafs were at the game last night and they continued fucking up our winning by being sitting at the courtside. I'm sorry. I don't like seeing the Maple Leafs come to our games. I wish that they just kept them busy and away from us as much as possible. Because I'm serious. Somebody could go statistically and find out every single time Maple Leaf hockey players are sitting at courtside for Raptor games, the Raptors lose. And it may be in my head, it may be something, but there's a lot of things tied up in that as far as with Leaf Nation and the things that they bring into this and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, that's just me personally. That bugged me because as soon as I saw Aston Matthews at the game, I was like, we're fucked. We're fucked. Why are the Leafs there? Oh my gosh. All right, let's see. Rahul's saying Maxey propelled the Sixers to win the series. When Maxey hit 3 straight daggers in the third quarter, I knew the game was over. That really was the turning point. When Maxey got those shots, because this is what I was saying. Harden kickstarted their offense at the beginning. And then Danny Green kind of carried water with Joel Embiid and Tobias Harris to help score. And then Maxey was that blow that busted it open. Like those those 3 straight threes that we saw that Rahul's talking about are exactly when we lost the series and lost the game. That he absolutely, like, he was getting up and down the court like he was in the first 2 games, and we had limited him from doing that kind of stuff. Like he was setting a pace that the Sixers wanted. That we were winning when it was a slow grind, half court, slow it down kind of game. And then Maxey was like, boom, I'm going to get going again. I'm going to kick it into gear and I'm going to get up and down the court. And that absolutely killed us because it was the pace that Doc Rivers told his guys. He said, you guys got to play with a faster pace and this will help us, because we were being very successful at slowing the game down completely. And that really, really, really killed us. You are exactly right, Rahul. Let's see. I only had 2 drinks saying at Sam. Phillies fans boo their own teams all the time. Look up Alec Bohn's quote from a few weeks ago. Yeah, that's what I'm saying about Tobias Harris's quote after the game. He's saying, we did not want to have to go back and face Philly fans in their own building because we failed to finish it in game 6 in Toronto, is basically what he's saying, because he knows that y'all give him a wrath. That in some ways, that's kind of scary and weird. If you want to be a Philadelphia 76er, you have to have a whole other thing you're worried about. Well, if I don't play a certain way on the court, they're going to turn on me and start booing my ass. And that, in some ways, is part of what continues to make your franchise have problems, is that there's a certain amount of stress that your players go through from knowing that y'all are going to be on them. And I understand. It's like a zebra's going to have stripes. Philadelphia fans going to have this aspect about them. And I don't disagree with it completely. But you need to understand how that feeds into part of the problems with your franchise. That in some ways you may have driven some players away in the history of the 76ers because of that kind of treatment. That you may have caused some of your guys to be uncomfortable or maybe not confident on the court, and they fucked up because of the fear of that treatment. That is the only thing I will say about this. I only had 2 drinks. Is that kind of effect can have those kind of effects on your players. And that what I was hearing from Tobias Harris after the game was, we're scared of our fans if we fail, and we wanted to make sure we had success here so we wouldn't have to face them and possibly have a repeat of Monday night where our fans completely turn on us and it all goes downhill. So you listen to my information that I just told you and think about how that would help or hurt you guys winning or losing in clutch games, the way you guys treat your players. That's all I'll say on that and stuff like that. And that I shouldn't even be telling you this because in some ways this is helping y'all. But anyway, yeah, this is just the history of the Philadelphia fan nation. I mean, they'll boo Santa Claus. They'll throw batteries at people. They've done some crazy fucked up shit in Philadelphia sports history. I mean, ask Mike Schmidt. It's like, stuff like that. All right. Death 4K saying, how much money do we think Boucher wants? And I want him back. Well, how much was he making this season? Let me just look at that real quick. And we'll figure it out. We're going to figure out kind of what around what he should probably make. Let's see. Roster. And he was making this season $7 million. He made $7 million this year. And if you look at somebody like OG was making 16. He's not going to make that much. I'm going to think that he's probably going to make between 12 and 15 million a year on this next contract. He's making 7 this year. I think that he'll get more money that's similar to what Thad's getting right now. But we'll see. We'll have to see. It may be that he only gets 10, but I'm going to say it's going to be 10 to 15 million a year for Chris Boucher. And do you, Raptor fans, think that he's worth that money? I think he is. I think that there's so many intangibles and team cohesion things that are very important about him. And then it's also really nice to have more role players that aren't just scorers, guys that are actually out there looking to rebound and play defense and block shots and stuff like that. So I'm going to speculate, since he made 7 this year, that he's going to make between 10 to 15 million a year after his contract that he signs this summer. Let's see. Rahul saying at Death 4K, he probably would get 3 years for 10 million per year. Yeah. Rahul's even kind of like saying exactly what I'm saying. So you get a $30 million contract for 3 years. That would be perfect for Chris. I think he'd sign that. Because first of all, we got to understand he's a street kid from Montreal who's homeless as a teenager. And then in a lot of ways, he said on his hustle play podcast and in different places that money doesn't make his world revolve. That money comes and goes, and it's not that he's greedy and he needs so much more. He has so much money now at this point in his life that he never would have dreamed of. That it's like, how much is too much, and how greedy can you be? And he's not that kind of guy. I really think that he'll work within our framework, but he will get a fair share of what he should be getting. And I think Rahul hit it right on the bullseye. He's a really smart guy, Rahul, saying about 3 years for 10 million. I think that's about right. Eddie Quais saying our team is stacked. We might need to build up the bench. Yeah, definitely. That's an easy place to upgrade this summer. Eddie's also saying we need to get Fred VanVleet a good backup. I like that idea, a sound backup. But would you be upset if it was Delano Banton? If it was Scotty Barnes still? If we just decided that, like, Malachi's under contract for next year for sure. So he could even still be like that third point guard that's still kind of lingering around, stuff like that. And Eddie's saying, so Fred doesn't have to too much wear on the body. Yeah, this was a big issue for Fred at the end of the year. He had a similar thing happen to him that happened to Kyle and DeMar in years past, where, he worked so hard and played so much over the course of the season that he's completely worn up and injury prone by the end of the year. And it was just too much. So I agree. More of the load off of Fred in different ways, whether it's even like his responsibilities or his minutes, just make it easier for him to stay healthy for us all the way. And then in the playoffs, he's in really good shape. Eddie's saying Shaq said we don't have stars. Well, it's a thing where it's like sometimes when you have a lot of guys that are similar in talent, they cancel each other out in the perception of NBA experts. And that's what's happening here. Is it like Pascal, OG, Fred, Scotty, Precious, they're all kind of like ambiguously similar in talent, possibly. And that makes it cancel out in their heads. So in a way, we have way more talent than people think. It's just that we don't have any figurehead superstars that allow them to say this kind of stuff. But I agree with what your next statement is. And I think that that's the person that will make Shaq say we have a superstar. Scotty Barnes is the future. And then down the road in a couple of years, they're going to be saying that he is a superstar in this league and that he is like a Luka Doncic. He is like a Giannis Antetokounmpo and that kind of stuff. So I think it'll get to that point, Eddie. It's just that he's a rookie. He just had his first year. Raymond Jacobs saying, yeah, we don't give a fuck about anything that comes out of Shaq's mouth. Raymond's right. He's right. We don't care. I mean, listen, these guys are like weathermen that predict rain, and there's never rain half the time. So G saying All-Star, All-NBA, and Rookie of the Year. How can we not be excited about our future? Yeah. And we'll talk about the season, looking back on the season tomorrow. But all summer, we're going to be talking about the future for sure. And I hope y'all will join me as much as possible. Rahul saying Raps need to keep Earl Watson. He's a key development coach for Scotty, OG, and Gary. I agree with this. It may not be totally up to us. Somebody maybe lure him. And, there's going to be a lot of teams that need head coaches this summer. And I hope that he's not a one and done with us. I'd love to see him stay and stick around with the Raptors organization as long as possible. But also there is a real benefit to having him go somewhere else and become a successful coach for another team, because that starts the Nick Nurse coaching tree. Like Chris Finch in Minnesota is one of the coaching tree from Nick Nurse. And if Earl Watson goes and he starts coaching another team like Charlotte next season, then, it'll be part of the Nick Nurse coaching tree. And there's some prestige in that Nick Nurse is spawning other NBA coaches because he's such a good coach in himself and stuff like that. But yeah, we can't control this. And we want the best for Earl Watson, like professionally. And that is a step up to go from an assistant coach to a head coach. But this is what happens. People get poached from good coaching staffs. And that just means Nick gets to find the next person that's really badass to bring in, like Sergio or, Trevor Gleason or, things like that. He's going to find another dude and maybe somebody really crazy. Like, who knows? If Philadelphia doesn't look like they're going to fire Doc at this point. We'll see what happens the next round. But if somebody else isn't going to go get Dawn Staley and she wants to be an assistant coach, maybe she could come coach with us. But I don't know if she has linkages or would want to be with Toronto, but we'll see. Leslie's saying, I am now cheering for Kyle and the Heat. Yesterday was heartbreaking, but Joel was a sore winner. This is the rebuild. Oh my God, we should be so hopeful. Yeah, Leslie, you're exactly right. We're cheering for Kyle and Miami Heat for the most part. And yeah, it was a heartbreaking day yesterday. But listen, it's also a celebration. And I really applaud Raptor Nation as a whole as being really classy yesterday, whether it's classy by doing Let's Go Raptors and cheering the team as the season ended, whether it's the Jurassic Park people being just badasses all around, or just in general, just like trying to be a classy loser in the case of, what I'm doing personally right now is like, listen, we could be making excuses and stuff like that. There was injuries, there's referees, there's all kinds of different stuff. But as it all added up in the end, Philadelphia was a better team and they deserve to go to the next round. Now they're further ahead with their playoff team development than us. They've been in the playoffs a few years now with a lot of the same players that are on the team, and they've butt their heads. Now they're getting ahead. Well, we just hit our head on the ceiling for what we were going to do this year against a team that's higher up on the escalator of the playoff, like going up towards trying to win a championship. And, we could do some adjustments this summer with personnel, personal growth by each individual on the Raptors team, and we could leapfrog them on that escalator by next year as far as like how deep we can get in the playoffs. But for right now, was our ceiling, and we hit our heads on it finally, and that's that. If things could have broken in different ways, it would have been more lucky. As far as Gary not being sick, not getting injuries, not having different things happen that sidetracked us at the very beginning of the series, it could have been a whole different kind of series. And that's the whole thing about it. You need health, you need luck, you need skill. You need all that kind of stuff working with you and helping you to get you towards winning another Larry O'Brien. And we didn't have luck in some of those areas in this series for sure. And that sucks. It's too bad. All right, let's see. Rahul's saying Earl Watson was a head coach and allowed Booker to flourish in his first year. Was Earl Watson actually the head coach of Phoenix? Or was it he working underneath Monty Williams at that time? I don't totally remember. Did Earl was a head coach already? I thought he was working under Monty at that time still, but I may be completely wrong. All right, let's see. Some hot girls and hot boys videos are here. All right, good job, G, throwing the wrench at webcams. XYZ. Woo! All right, Andrew, let's go Raptors. Great season. Can't wait for more Raptor Freak content next season. Andrew, don't leave me. I'm gonna keep making stuff. I'll be here tomorrow. I'm gonna be here Sunday. I'm gonna keep coming. I know you don't have to be here every single day. Obviously, you guys take the off-season schedule you want, but come back and check on me every once in a while, because every single day I'm still gonna put something out. I promise you, Andrew. I'm not stopping. We're gonna talk Raptors all off season, and you can be here as much as you want, but I'll be here for sure. I promise I will. I only had 2 drinks. Kyle Lowry is a Philly guy. We love him too. An enemy of my enemy is my friend. B-ball, my man. Keep up the good work. I appreciate that. See, honestly, this is such a weird turn of events with the Sixers fans coming into this stream while we've been here this playoff series. There's been such good interactions between Raptors and Sixer fans. It's like, listen, I'm like, what the fuck? I need to go and sit down with Zelensky and Putin and try and work this shit out with people, because some reason we're making bonds with people that normally would never get along. And I'm all for it. It's like, listen, this is great. I mean, thank you. I appreciate once again you being here and being cool and being a good winner. Yeah, Kyle Lowry is loved by Philadelphia for sure. He's Philadelphia's son in a lot of ways and stuff like that. And I can see why that's a little bit of a mixed kind of feeling for you guys, in some ways. But I know you guys are straight up Sixers and you want them to win, even though Kyle is a native son. But yeah, and I appreciate that compliment, man. And like I said, anybody who loves basketball like I do, and they want to just talk intelligent basketball talk, you're always welcome here. And yeah, we're going to be from a Raptor perspective, obviously. But listen, you heard me just get out of my head and just talk about the Sixers perspective and about what they did to kill us and stuff like that last night and stuff like that. I try to be as fair as possible and realistic. And there's no reason for me to be salty this morning because our team had a great, successful year. You guys did a good job. You're ahead of us as far as like with your franchise, as far as team building towards the championship. And this is just how it is. There's no reason for anybody to be upset with each other. It was a good series. It was a lot of entertaining basketball in different places. Some of it was ugly, some of it was unnecessary, but a lot of it was very fun to watch. And there was the ups and downs of an NBA playoff series encapsulated in this series with Philadelphia and Toronto in game 6 games this year. And you guys are up now 2-1 in our history in the playoffs. You guys won 2001 and 2022 now. We won in 2019. So we owe you guys next time we play you in a series to even it back up again. Oh, yeah, we'll have to see. Andrew saying, I don't like Philly, but it's a good rivalry. And we each have a series win over each other. The Celtics, on the other hand, yeah, we need to beat the Celtics in the playoffs at some point. It's annoying that the only time we've ever played them in the playoffs is the bubble series. But once again, that was a fantastic, crazy ass series in itself. It was very even in a lot of ways and could have gone either way at certain times and stuff like that. So, yeah, listen, if you're an Atlantic Division team and you're not the Toronto Raptors, you're usually going to be a team that I hate in many, many, many different ways. Now, there's different ones. There's different tiers. Boston, Brooklyn, I would say Philly next, and then New York just because they're a joke. But, yeah, it's that kind of ways. If they're really ranking the hate from Raptors Nation, it's that kind of order. Tom Duke saying, if Giannis can get past Boston, he shall be the king again. Chris Middleton, that's going to be tough for Milwaukee. I mean, Boston's rolling. As much as I hate them, they are the most functional team in the league right now as far as like winning consistently and just the role they've been on in the second half of the season into the playoffs. You know, sweeping a team like the Nets isn't an easy task, and they did it pretty handily in some ways. So, this is tough. Like, I think that Giannis is in trouble in the next round. I hate to say it, as much as I hate the Celtics, and as much as I am rooting for the Bucks against the Celtics. I just, in my educated opinion, if they don't have Chris Middleton, then Milwaukee's in big trouble. That Boston should beat them, and then, like I said, whoever gets past Philly and Miami, I will be rooting for them against the Celtics no matter what, because I don't want to see the Celtics in the final. That's the one team on the Eastern side that I do not want to see in the finals. I want somebody to knock them out before then. If Milwaukee does it, that's fantastic. But if they don't, I want it to be somebody who's playing on Monday in Miami, one of those two teams, to knock them out. So that's what I'm saying. Death 4K saying, I've heard the fans and I'm disappointed in some people. This was not a championship or bust year. Siakam played in the offseason and other young guys had some great experiences. There's so many good things about this. Listen, there's some Raptor fans that are just immature. They're just young. They haven't been around long enough to understand the history of the Raptors like I do, or Monique, or other fans like you guys, a lot of you guys also. They just have the championship year and the championship success and all the good things that we've had in like the last 5 years or maybe even last 7, 8 years. And they don't have any perspective on understanding. And they may not even be that educated about basketball. It's just that they have feelings and they feel personally hurt because the team that they love and they root for has just lost. And instead of dealing with their feelings themselves inside, they lash out and they start making excuses or blaming things. Sometimes the way a Raptor fan reacts to something is more indicative of who they are as a person in some ways, like whether they're blaming or they're telling us, get rid of this person or something like that. Sometimes that's a reflection of how they feel about themselves. So everybody that you hear what they're saying today about the Raptors, when they say it, when they're talking about their opinion about the Raptors, it's not really that they're talking about how they feel about the Raptors. They're talking about how they feel about themselves in their own personal life. And they may be very pessimistic. They may be very depressed. They may be somebody that's just having a really hard time in life. And that may be part of it also. It's sad in some ways. So yeah, that's what I'll say to that, Death 4K. And yeah, so many successes this year, and we'll talk about them tomorrow. All about success tomorrow. That's what we're going to be talking about. Andrew saying the Leafs were there because they're the only people rich enough to afford tickets to Raptors playoffs games. Listen, I wish they'd just been on the road or just busy. And there's a really weird thing about how the NHL playoffs are so much later than the NBA playoffs. That one of the really cool things that has happened the last few years is that the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs would be at the same time, and the Leafs would get eliminated before the Raptors, and the Raptors would be playing longer than the Leafs in the postseason. And what that means is a lot of Leaf fans or sports fans in general that would be more invested watching the Leafs, well, they can't. So they'd be more invested in watching the Raptors. And that's really good. But it may be that the NHL, I don't know why they delayed their season or why it's so off kilter compared to the NBA season this year, because usually they line up pretty identical. There may be a couple of weeks off, but they're like a month behind us this season. And because of this, there's going to be Leaf playoffs way longer than the Raptors, obviously, because we ended last night. And I hate that in a way. I really do. And and it's totally because the schedule has been shifted a month later than the NBA schedule for the NHL. But still, that's a weird effect about how the postseasons for the two sports have gone down and what is happening with Toronto sports media market in particular. Is yeah, it's kind of like I hate this. In some ways it's not that I want to. We beat the Lakers, we beat the Nets, we beat the Clippers and these other teams. We outlasted them in the playoffs. In some ways, I want the Raptors to outlast the Leafs also, but they won't have a chance to because the NHL season isn't even over at this point. It's really weird. We're a month into the playoffs almost, and the NHL regular season hasn't even ended. It's really kind of weird and crazy. Def 4K saying the only player I was a bit let down on was OG. I was expecting a bit more from him, being a guy who's been here for a long time. Yeah, OG should have had at least his baseline defensive intensity that just really showed. That's like if anything we don't have, if we're not hitting our shot, at least we should have our defense at all times. And that's part of what's so disappointing about our effort last night is that we didn't even have the bare minimum of what we are doing really well last night. And we allowed the Sixers to be an offensive juggernaut and go off. And that's too bad. And OG really is kind of the linchpin, the main part, the team captain of the defense in some ways. And that's indicative of that. But I'm like, once again, we don't need to dump on OG. We don't need to dump on Pascal like last week. We don't need to dump on Fred. We don't need to dump on anybody. It's just not necessary. Everything's a success. And these guys learn from these experiences and stuff like that. So Death 4K saying Maxey is a great second or third option when defense is zoned in on him. He's easy to guard, but when you have an Embiid or Harden that defenses are zoned in, Maxey becomes lethal. Yeah, he picks you apart. If you don't stay with him, if you have to cheat off him to go and try and double or deal with other guys, and that's what happened. Harden made us have to change our coverage of him because he established his offensive game right from the start of the game last night. And then Embiid started looking like himself finally for them. And then boom, things just open right up for Maxey, and then he's killing us also. It was a really good plan. It's very similar to the plan that Doc had for game one, and it really went down very similar to game one also. Let's see. Rahul's saying, should the Raps explore a trade for Donovan Mitchell? It seems like he's unhappy after yesterday's press conference. The Jazz are really messed up. Like, they've kind of been like really close to knocking on the door in the Western Conference for many years now, but now it seems like they've taken a couple steps back. That they made a couple of moves this offseason. One of them that I did not agree with that I think really fucked them up, and maybe the thing is partly what's wrong with them at this point, is they moved Joe Ingles to Portland this trade deadline. And that was really dumb move to me because Joe Ingles is kind of like a heart and soul of their old team. And why would you move him? He's a great player for you off the bench in all kinds of different ways. And I think that fucked up their mojo as far as their team in some ways, losing Ingles. And that there's other players on that team that are underperforming right now that are probably pissing Donovan Mitchell off, specifically Rudy Gobert. Rudy Gobert has been a huge disappointment since he signed his Supermax contract back with Utah. He's not doing enough to earn that money. And yeah, he may be upset and stuff like that. Now, in this case, Rahul, I know you're a real smart guy because of what you've been saying here already. Like, what will we have to give up to get Donovan Mitchell? And how do we know that he would fit? And also, the other thing about Donovan is he's a shorter guard in some ways. He doesn't fit our positionless scheme. He'd be very similar to having another Gary Trent Jr. In some ways, it's like Gary Trent is kind of our Donovan Mitchell to a degree. In some ways, he's not as good, obviously, but he has a lot of the same kind of attributes as a scorer in his height and his position and stuff. So yeah, I don't know. I don't like any kind of big piece trading right now. I think that that we are really happy with the core and the group. And you don't want to ship somebody out to get somebody like that, because it kind of can mess up your chemistry. Because then all of a sudden everybody's looking over their backs and saying, well, shit, Pascal just got traded. And that means that could happen to me. If Pascal could get traded, that means any of us could get traded anytime. So it's sometimes you want to keep that security and that not worrying about getting moved. And if you do a move where somebody like gets moved all of a sudden, unless it completely makes sense and it really leads to some real success, then I'm for it. And once again, this is the kind of thing where I just trust Bobby. Bobby's going to know what this is right for, what the team's plans are and what they would do. And I don't know, Donovan Mitchell is kind of actually the kind of player that is actually in the kind of plans for our future in some ways. But it's an interesting thought exercise for sure. Raymond Jacobs saying at death, only OG, at least he had more points than Precious. I thought Precious was going to go off. Yeah, this is a really stark difference, Raymond. And thanks for bringing this up. We saw Precious on Monday absolutely eat Joel Embiid alive. Like he was another kind of player. He had 17 points and he did all this stuff. Well, he didn't build off of this. And this is partly being a young player. He's a second-year player, and consistency is not always there. There may be nights where he shows up just like this regular season, where he's actually absolute gangbusters. The game in Memphis is one game I remember earlier this season that he was absolutely fantastic. But then you turn around the next game and he can't do anything. He's barely playing any minutes. Well, he had a letdown last night. And, talking about how Precious played last night, it was, what it is sometimes he just doesn't get engaged into the game. Like he doesn't get enough good things going and he just doesn't become a factor. And then he kind of just fades. Last night, he was 1 for 7. He missed both the 3-point attempts. He was 1 for 2 at the free throw line, and he got 3 points that way. And he only had 2 rebounds and 1 assist, and he only played 22 minutes. Although 22 minutes is a lot for not that much output. So we could look specifically at last night's game and see who underperformed. But once again, this isn't like just because it's an elimination game for our season that we need to dump on these guys, because it's just like this is just a night where they were off, but it was a really important night, so it looks worse kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. If you have to talk about OG for not showing up last night, Precious is definitely another one too. Death 4K saying, I would support a trade for Mitchell, but price would be too high, so not worth it. Yeah, I don't think the only player that we could trade straight up for him would have to be Pascal. And that's what I'm saying. Do you trade Pascal Siakam for Donovan Mitchell? No, you do not. Because first of all, Pascal has so much history here. Pascal has one of these, and Donovan Mitchell does not. And also, Donovan Mitchell does not have the same height or the same athleticism in some ways that Pascal has. So, yeah, you don't do that. It's like who lines up with the money and the way that it have to happen. It's not worth giving up because it's already established good player in our rotation and a good piece that we already have. So, yeah, that's why I don't like big piece trading like what Ben Simmons for James Harden, that deal. We don't want to do any deals like that. We don't want to trade any of our big guys, our good guys. There's for any reason. I don't want to trade OG. I don't want to trade Gary Trent Jr. I don't want to trade Fred. I don't want to trade Pascal. It doesn't make any sense. So, and the other guys, of course, we're not going to trade them. All right, let's see. Death 4K saying at Raymond Jacob, Pascal gets a hall pass since he's a second-year player. Yeah, kind of what I was saying just a second ago. So can't really be mad at what he did. OG being around from 2017 needs to be better, especially when Siakam got doubled. Yeah. Once again, the criticisms are fine. These are small and fine. And this is a good pointing out of where we failed in different places last night. I'm just glad that we're not going overboard and calling for their heads like some people in Raptors Nation might do. So, yeah, these are very, very valid criticisms of different things. And I think you're right about OG in some ways, but also, I don't know. We don't know what's going on with him. It could be that he had something weird happening and stuff like that. And of course, I'm going to make excuses for our guys no matter what. So Summer Lowe saying, did we talk about Precious really messing us up this game already? I know he's young and all, but I don't know. There were many boneheaded plays by him last night. I can't stand watching him play. Yeah, we got to take the good and the bad with these young players. Like I said, Scotty Barnes had a rookie mistake right near the end of the game, and an important time where we possibly could have tried to come back still with enough time on the clock. And Precious is going to be the same thing. He's a second-year player. Miami didn't play him that much last year. He didn't get enough experience as a rookie to really be like a full-fledged vet at this point. He is so young, and he's going to make mistakes. And there'll be some nights where he really plays really well, like Monday night, and then some nights where he just doesn't do anything. And part of it is that we got to understand that he is he's trying stuff. And what they were trying to do last night, him and Scotty were kind of out of their box. Like normally their success comes within playing within themselves and playing within their game with their teammates and as the flow of the game. But because Precious did so well on Monday night, he was forcing his game a little bit more last night than actually letting it naturally come to him. And that's part of the reason why he shot so badly and different things like that, turned the ball over or whatever, is because he was forcing his game. In fact, him and Scotty forced their games on the game last night more than they had all season in some ways. And sometimes when a player is not just playing naturally within themselves in the flow of the game, they can look way worse because they kind of got out of their box and they're forcing things. And that's part of what happened with Precious last night. Like he really was forcing things, but not finding any kind of success. And Scotty, to an extent, also, he took 20 shots. That's the most shots Scotty's taken in a long, long time. And he had the most shots of any Raptor last night. So he was forcing his game into the game more. And I like that because over time, that's going to get better and better. But he has to learn to get better. And same thing for Precious. They'll get better through experience and stuff like that. I know it's tough to watch our guys like look bad and turn the ball over, or maybe like look like they're forcing it, like I'm talking about. But that's part of what was happening is that they wanted to really win, so they were forcing themselves in the game. All right, let's see. Def 4K saying that's the thing. Banton or Barnes could have astronomical improvements after a playoff loss. People expect change, but that does not have to happen trading or cutting people. Yeah, that's the thing. Teams lose and everybody just wants to crumple up the paper and throw it away. It's like, no, don't do that. Understand the building blocks and allow them to be built on top of. Because when you build a house, you don't just chop down all the walls because you had a shitty day. You keep building it. And that's what we're doing. We're doing that. Leslie's saying Raptor fans didn't turn on their team. We should be hopeful for the future. I think Delano is undercover learning from the bench. Yeah, they're all learning. This was a great experience. Scotty learned a lot in this playoff series. This will really shape him in some ways. This may motivate him in all kinds of different ways. It's just really good that our guy Scott got playoff experience where Evan Mobley didn't. Cade Cunningham didn't. So he's already ahead of the curve in his peers in his rookie class. That he has experience that these guys did not get. And that's very valuable. And also, this is the other thing. Some players play in this league for how many years in their career before they even get to the playoffs? So Scotty getting his first year in the playoffs and playing some games and actually winning some games and having different experiences of losing, winning, being in elimination games, seeing how physical it is in the first game. This is all really, really valuable. Super, super valuable. And other guys like Evan Mobley and Cade Cunningham, Franz Wagner, these guys did not get that experience this year. So Scotty's already ahead in that way. And the rookie kind of thing, growth for years to come and stuff like that. And yeah, Delano is the same thing. Even Justin, who wasn't even on the roster, seeing all this is good experience for him also. DJ saying Maxey was killer. It could be a Raptor. Proud of team. I bet they all gained 10 pounds over the summer. I turned off the TV after Embiid shoved Chris. Refs shouldn't control outcome of more than one game. DJ, you're a little all over the place. I'm going to try and pick this apart because there is some gold in here, I think. Maxey was killer. He could be a Raptor. Well, I don't know if he'll be – I don't think that's realistic just because I know Philly's going to try and keep him in the fold as much as possible. And Philly fan nation will tell you, nope, he's ours. Don't touch him, just like how we'd say about Scotty Barnes. Yeah, I'm really proud of the Raptors too. I am too. Now, when you're saying I bet they all gained 10 pounds over the summer, are you saying in muscle? Because I don't want them showing up like Harden, gaining 10 pounds around here, the spare tire. Because that's a big difference in what you're saying is like, I hope that they're not, if this 10 pounds of muscle, especially on somebody like Chris Boucher or Delano Banton, that's fantastic. But yeah, we'll have to see if they get in the weight room and different things, stuff like that happens. You turned off the TV after Embiid shoved Chris. Yeah, that was, that honestly should have been somewhat of a flagrant foul. There was a lot of hitting out by Joel in this whole series that was really kind of super goonish dirty. And yeah, that was fucked up. And I love that Chris grabbed his ankle when he ran past him. He's like, no, no, no. Like, even that was dirty in itself, too. I'll admit it, Sixers fan. When Chris Boucher grabbed his ankle, that's dirty, too. But that was a dirty for a dirty right there. And once again, I'm really happy that the Raptors didn't back down to a big bully like Joel Embiid, and that they got their receipts on him at different times. Whether it's like Pascal right after the airplane, whether it was Pascal hitting him horizontally after the really goonish game of game one, game two, we gave some receipts back. And I'm really proud of the guys for standing their ground and showing that they won't be pushed around. That was a huge thing that I needed to see from them in this series. Because if we had not seen that from them, I would have been worried about them and how competitive or what kind of legs they really actually do have as a core and going somewhere, is if they're soft. And they weren't soft in this series. They were very tough in this series. We can't say the Raptors were soft in this series. Yeah. All right. Let's see. And then you're also saying refs shouldn't control outcome of more than one game. Yeah, I agree with that. And that happened a couple times, but not too bad in this series. There was much worse ref manipulation during the regular season at times than in this playoff series with the Sixers. The things that really pissed me off and kind of is a real sign of ref manipulation is the Fred VanVleet fouls in the game one right away. That was really bad because that set a tone and kind of put us in a detriment right away. And then even last night, once again, we're dumping on a little bit on OG last night, but they did that ref hit job on OG last night. They picked him instead to be the guy that gets two quick fouls and is neutralized from being in the game. And that could purely simply be like, all right, the Raptors have a really good success with their defense when OG's out there and he's clicking. And then boom, you put OG in a foul trouble, and then our defense is shitty, and then boom, Philadelphia's off to the races on their offense and stuff like that. So this is really the only two things that really strongly made me feel like the refs put too much on the game. Is you put foul trouble on particular players, it's a real problem and stuff like that. Chris was another one in the first game too, Chris Boucher. All right, let's see. Raymond Jacobs saying at DJ, Lex loves Bill Kennedy, but after his playoff games with us, I don't like him at all. Yeah. Yeah. I think that he's like one of these kill you with a smile, kill you with kindness and a smile kind of guy. Because both games he reffed in this series, we lost. And yeah, you know what? I'm really going to have to think about all this stuff and like really take it on a game by game basis. And just because these guys may be charmers or seem like they're cool dudes, they may be not. And that may be that's why the NBA really likes these guys, is because they can screw you over with a smile and get away with it and stuff like that. So, yeah, it's very interesting, Raymond. I am starting to less and less like Bill Kennedy. But if I got to hang out with him at a karaoke night, maybe Raptor Freak could get in his head a little bit. And maybe he'd be a lot nicer to us. I don't know. We'll see. Rahul's saying Earl Watson was a head coach back in 2016 or 17. Okay, he was for Phoenix for just a little bit. He did get a shot. I don't pay close enough attention that way. So he did get his shot with Phoenix at some point. And then I guess they brought in Monty after him. Okay, that makes sense. I do seem to remember him being a head coach already and stuff like that. But listen, he's attractive once again. Like his name is getting put in the same places like Mark Jackson in a lot of places also and stuff like that. So let's see. What changes did Rivers do last night? Well, he obviously lit a fire under Harden's ass. That was a really big key. And then the other thing was he went back to his game one plan of not turning the ball over, not allowing us to get offensive rebounds as much as possible, and do other different things like that. Really get his team playing off of each other together and having them all kind of get going at the same time. That's what he really needed to do. Was like if the Sixers winning or Sixers machine was a car, he first needed James Harden to get into the driver's seat and try and crank that alternator. And he got it to go. And then all of a sudden, Joel was sitting in the passenger seat with him, and they were going. And then Maxey jumped in the back, and Tobias, and then the three-point shooters, and boom, they were all going together in the car going forward. And that's the problem there. It's like James jump-started them. Doc Rivers gave him a challenge and said, "You need to help us, James." And James took the challenge, and he actually succeeded. So that's really how I see what the changes were. Is what they got James Harden to be effective, and it's not just as a passer. They got him to be effective as a scorer, and that's what really killed us. Def 4K saying the only problem I have with Embiid's game, because I hate his personality, was the fact that he was a stat padding near the end of the game, man. I don't even know what you mean exactly. I mean, I know his stats look real good today. As far as like his shooting percentage, 12 for 18, 9 for 10 at the free throw line, 10 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 1 turnover, 33 points. That's a big stat right there, is the 1 turnover. The Raptors had to get him to get 4 or 5 turnovers to be successful, and they didn't turn the ball over. Joel was really smart with it. And the other thing about this is he missed all 4 of his 3 pointers. That's good because we were daring him to shoot, and that was really good. But the Sixers actually beat us at the free throw line. We got more free throws than them last night. We got 25 free throws, and they still made 2 more free throws than us. And that's them shooting really, really well at the free throw line. Like they shot 22 for 23. They only missed 1 free throw all night. And that says something that they outscored us on the free throw line and we got more free throw attempts. So that shows that like the refs weren't really being that biased for them with the whistle. All right, let's see. Yeah. And Death 4K saying Doc Rivers literally ran that 2-3 zone last night, which we struggled with all year. To be honest, he ran that all series. We were just not playmaking and penetrating to break the zone. Yeah, the zone buster specifically as an individual on our team was Thad Young. That he's a vet. He should know how to beat a zone in any kind of situation. And in the games we won in this series, he was very effective at busting the zone. Well, he's another one we could talk about as along with the OG and Precious that did not show up last night. Thad was out there for 22 minutes. He was 0 for 4. He missed both 3-pointers that they allowed him to shoot. He did not score a single point last night. He had 7 rebounds. 3 of them were offensive. He had 2 assists. He had 1 steal. He did get that nice little pass to Chris like he normally does. But he really didn't imprint himself on the game in some ways. He didn't really make himself a factor. And that's too bad because he has been a huge help for us when we've won games in this series. And that's too bad. That really is too bad. And I think that Thad Young not stepping up is part of the reason why we struggle with the zone again last night. Rahul saying, should the Raps attach 33rd pick with young prospects to move up in the draft? With the draft, I never really care about where we pick from or anything like that. It was a real luxury and nice to get that 4th pick last year. We had some ping pong ball luck in getting the 4th pick last year. And, we went through all the misery of Tampa. We did deserve something for that. But at this point, I don't really give a shit like who we draft. I mean, honestly, I don't even care if the guy we draft this year makes the team. I really think that our fruit and where we get more from is from within, and then maybe some sort of free agency acquisition. But yeah, I don't like doing any kind of deals to try and move up in the draft because in some ways it's pointless to move up too much. If you're not actually in the top like lottery picks, then it's like don't worry about like where you are between this early 2nd round and the late 1st round. Because Masai and Bobby are so smart. They understand the gold at every single position in the draft. And that like they'll pick somebody at 33 and it'll be something badass that could have been in the end of the 1st round. And the other thing that we said about this when the deal went down with Thad Young and Goran Dragic is that we actually, in a dumb way, saved money because we got rid of a 1st round pick and got a 2nd pick. And that's basically guaranteed salary for that pick when they come in. Instead of having to pay a guaranteed 1st round salary to a guy who's in the 20s, we get to pay a 2nd round salary to a guy at 33. And in a way, that's a cost cutting move. And we might still get a player that's just as good because with Masai and Bobby scouting and the way they do draft and stuff, we may get a badass at 33, even though. And also, I've heard Masai and Bobby also say that the difference between a player at where they would have been picking and where they are now at 33 is negligible. That the actual talent levels and difference because of the way that the pool is for this year is negligible, and that they might even be able to get the guy that they wanted to get with the old draft pick at 33, just because sometimes it's somebody like Pascal Siakam that nobody else is looking at. And that they just kind of like, all right, it's our time to pick. Well, we're just picking who we all wanted all the whole time. And nobody's picked him yet because they don't know about him. And we're just grabbing him at 33 now. It's that kind of thinking with it. I don't like moving up in the draft. I don't like trades in general. It's like Fred said, I'm not a trade guy. Well, I'm not either. Fred's not a trade guy. I'm not a trade guy. The Raptors are not a trade team. as a overall. Like if you look at how much movement we actually make in different places, we're not making frivolous deals or making deals very often. And that's the way I look at it. So it's really staying committed to what you already have and not trying to shuffle things up too much and building off of what you already have. Death 4K saying, I really wish Herb Jones fell to us last year. The Pelicans were lucky to get him where they did. Yeah, Herb Jones is looking like a stud, much like Scotty Barnes and other rookies. They're like, is this guy a rookie? Is this guy actually a fucking rookie? It's crazy, you know? So, yeah, really awesome. Was it? He's a second-year player, isn't he? Yeah, I'm getting mixed up. But still, regardless, wherever Herb Jones is within his career, he is absolutely fantastic and already playing at a vet level in some ways and stuff like that. Pelicans, another great season. Like, honestly, New Orleans, you guys did great. You in some ways mirror us in the Western Conference in a lot of ways as far as your potential for growth and things that are going to happening. They're good things for you. And what you guys did this year as far as getting in the playoffs and making some noise. And making some noise against the Phoenix Suns in the first round is a real huge accomplishment. Good job, Jonas and the crew. I got to give you all props. Seymour Pape saying Knicks already have a package for Jazz, Mitchell and Whiteside for Randall, Fournier, and Burks. Now, this sounds like something that's very plausible and could happen. I mean, the Knicks are in a similar kind of situation as the Jazz. They're kind of like looking for answers and trying to figure out what's next and who we should go forward with and stuff like that. And that deal makes a lot of sense. That sounds like it lines up. They don't want Randall in New York for sure. And as far as the other two players for the Knicks, you know, they're just valuable role players. But meanwhile, Mitchell and Whiteside could actually come back and be good for the Knicks also. But I don't know if that's fair for the Jazz. I don't think the Jazz would necessarily want this deal because they're giving up a good quality center and one of their best players for like kind of guys, a guy who's kind of washed and with iffy, like in Julius Randle, and then some guys that are really just like role players. So I don't know, like you saying that package is already out there. If the Knicks want that, yeah, they definitely want that. But I don't know if the Jazz will want that deal. That's what I'm saying. Seymour saying Fournier then locks up with the countryman Gobert. I see what you're saying. So these French guys will be together, Fournier and Gobert. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's nice and fits that way, but like I said, that's a deal that if I was the Jazz, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Def 4K saying this was Precious's rookie year, basically. In some ways, yeah, there's some truth to that. Miami didn't really have him in the rotation for half the year. Death 4K saying, I do not like the Gobert one, but I really hope we don't give up major assets to get him. He's a temporary solution. Yeah, we don't want Gobert. No, that's what I'm saying. We dodged some bullets. We didn't get Giannis in that crazy time, and Gobert was our second choice. But he doubled down with Utah also, and that's actually a really big bullet we probably dodged and stuff like that. So let's see. Summerlow saying, yeah, you're right. Scotty and Precious were forcing their game. There was a whole part of the third quarter we kept chucking threes. It was the death of us. Philadelphia was letting them take those shots. Yeah, because obviously, and even Chris, you see how often Chris gets open threes because they don't totally respect that he's going to make them. And that's why we need guys like Georges Niang that are automatic, you have to respect them. And that's what I'm saying. It's like if we're going to put something on the priority list for the summer, we need shooters that people have to respect is basically what we should say on there. Is that people have to respect these guys and come out and get them because it'll open everything up for everybody all kinds of different ways and stuff like that. Seymour Pape says Zach Zarba was okay. The other refs had an agenda. Yeah, what's his name? Curtis Blair, Bill Kennedy. Yeah, I don't know. Zach Zarba, once again, he's one of those kind of guys that can probably screw you over with a smile. And you'd be like, I love that guy. That's what I'm getting the vibe from him and Bill Kennedy at this point. Because like I said before the game yesterday, all three of those refs, we lost the last game that we had for them also. So we were actually 0-2 in the last two times these gentlemen have refed games for us. All three of them. Curtis, all three of them. We've lost the last two games that they refed. And I really do think it's like we're going to screw you over with a smile kind of crew. Like Zach Zarba and Bill Kennedy, they're going to start to be like these are charmers as refs. And then in some ways they're going to fuck us over. And we may not even understand how they did it. And they'll do it with a smile. And we'll feel like, oh, these guys are nice guys. I'm really going to watch them for this, for sure. And when I do more research on my ref report for the summer, I may dig deeper on those two guys specifically and see if they actually have been good for us or not. Leslie Hart is saying the zone hurt us last night. We shot so many 3-pointers. We needed to go inside so much more. Yeah, that was part of the strategy that really worked for Doc. Is he realizes we're not a good 3-point shooting team. He took away the paint. He doubled down low, like some people have said here already. Is that he really focused on taking away the down low and the paint stuff away from the Raptors, and it was really smart because we couldn't hit the outside, and that was part of the keys for their victory. And Leslie's saying, did Nick Nurse keep the lineup the same to teach these guys? I thought it was a teaching moment. He's an undercover genius. Nick Nurse adjusts like no other. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking with this, but, it isn't really important that Scotty and Precious played a lot of minutes in this series as much as possible because these are building blocks for the future success of the Raptors in the playoffs. Is to feel that sting of defeat in your earlier years. Get it out of the way. Don't get to like your fourth or fifth year like Karl Anthony Towns and have to feel that sting then because you have been further already in your career and lost some years. That's why this was so important for us to get out of the play-in, get into the playoff, and get a real series and get the ability to lose some games and win some games and have those experiences for Scotty and Precious. Because this is going to be a huge building block and have them ahead of peers of theirs, like I said earlier, like Cade and Evan Mobley and stuff like that. But it really is that kind of stuff. They wanted them as much as possible. Barney Miller's here. I love your show. Say hey to the fish. Philadelphia clogged the paint. Yeah, pure and simple. That and Harden jumpstart. They clogged the paint. They made it harder for us down low. And boom. That was that. All right, we're right at 2 hours. I just got to the end of the comments. Just real quick, just capping our season with the ending game of Game 6 of our playoff against Philadelphia. We really fucked up letting Philadelphia get 30 points on average per quarter. That was a stat I was kept talking about for this whole series. It's really important that we keep them under 30. And if we're not doing good enough. And that means we're going to probably lose. They did a really good job getting all their weapons going. That we shut the water off on so many different ones of them in the last couple games that they did a really good job getting going. And I give a lot of credit to James Harden. Right at the beginning of the game, Doc Rivers giving him that challenge and him going out there and doing it. I mean, he shot 7 for 12. It wasn't like he was high usage and missed a lot. He was very efficient last night. And then, of course, all the other guys kicking in and getting going themselves. But really, James Harden was the catalyst. And then on our end, I mean, listen, I can go pick through all the Raptors and what I see right here. Pascal, solid game. OG didn't show up. Scotty was forcing it a little too much, but he did get 18 points, and he was trying really his damnedest. Kem Birch, why did he only play 5 minutes right at the beginning of the game, and that was that? And then we didn't see him for the rest of the game. It was a weird choice. Gary Trent Jr., 40 minutes, 7 of 15. He didn't shoot that horrible, 19 points. Gary actually looked pretty good last night in a lot of ways. Thad didn't show up. Precious didn't show up. Chris Boucher played out of his mind, had his best playoff game of his entire career, 25 points, 10 rebounds, 7 of 13 shooting, 9 of 10 at the free throw line. Fantastic job by Chris Boucher. You could really tell he was laying it all on the line in an elimination game for the Raptors. And then our bench guys, once again, nobody came in 2 minutes and lit it up or did anything that impressive. Banton got a 3-point play, and then everybody else missed all their shots. And that is exactly why we need new bench players, is that kind of stuff. Peter's here, and he said it like, listen, Peter, you're a great Raptor fan. Keep going. Win or lose, I love this team. Let's go, Raps. That's exactly what we should be saying. Please join me tomorrow for the season review and wrap-up, a Saturday spotlight on the 2021-2022 Toronto Raptors team. And we'll just be talking a free-for-all. These Saturday streams are going to be appreciation and love fest kind of streams where I want everybody who shows up to just talk about the things that you loved about this team this year and the things that happened. Maybe you share your favorite memory from the season. Maybe you share your favorite player that played this year. And we just talk about things about this team that were awesome and just be grateful. We're grateful for in different ways. So please join me tomorrow morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time sharp. I'll be here live once again, and we can have the conversation about the Raptors from a positive fan base mindset, the Raptor Freak cult. All right. Thanks again. Hit like, comment, subscribe. Please hit subscribe. I had a really good drive to get a whole ton of subscriptions in this playoff, and it was really good. And I'm worried that it will, of course, I'm not going to get as many, but maybe I will. I don't know. Maybe I will get some more subscriptions this summer. But like I said, I vow to be here every single morning talking Raptors with all y'all, rain or shine, good or bad, whatever it is. Thanks to everyone for a fantastic Raptor season. You guys have been a real bonus and awesome to be able to share the passion that we all share for this team on this live stream has been absolutely fantastic and has been so great this whole season. I really love and appreciate every single one of you. Yeah, Barney Miller, Maxi's a very good player. Raymond, I am getting there. Let's just say I have double what I did when I started like campaigning to get more subs. But I'm getting closer and closer every day. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen next season. Let's just put it that way. But it's not gonna happen probably in the off season. It'll probably happen in the next season. I really fully expect it to happen then. But you guys are really important part of it all, especially my regulars. You guys with the wrenches and everybody who's come in recently and started regularly coming to watch me from the deepest bottom of my heart. Thank you so much. Because without the discourse and the back and forth, you guys showing up, there's nothing. It's just a crazy man sitting in Leslieville in Toronto talking to a computer. And my neighbors think I am crazy sometimes in the morning because of the way I've been yelling and stuff like that. But hey, it's so worth it. G saying part of forcing things is inexperience. We'll get better and better. Yeah, it's inexperience. And also these guys really, really having the desire to try and do everything possible to help them win. And sometimes they get a little bit out of the box and force it a little bit. And that's just how it is. All right, guys. Once again, thanks so much. Let's go Raptors. Hold your head up high. No finger pointing. No getting negative or anything like that. Let's stay positive and just look forward to the future because there's so many great things coming our way in the years to come as Raptors Nation. All right, guys. Later on, Summer, thanks for all of your insight and information and different things. Summer, really appreciate you this year also. All right. All the best, guys. Have a great Friday and have a great weekend. And I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Let's go!